This video is sponsored by Notion. I have been using Notion to organize my art and my business for a very long time, and I also have been promising you a Notion tour for well over a year, so it's about time I show you how I get organized. This year, when I'm planning and tracking things, I'm focusing on nurturing creativity and paying attention to how making art makes me feel, because I know that I love making art, but focusing on those positive outcomes really helps to reinforce a sort of positive feedback loop. And it just seems like a nice thing to track. So I've made some major upgrades to my Notion and added lots of resources to it so that I can share it with you guys and help you with your creativity. And so the template is available in my Etsy shop if you want to use it for yourself. So this is my art planner in Notion, how I've made it for 2025. I want to use it to be organized, and I always use it to organize my projects and my content, but I also like to use it to track my art, and so this year I've added my little art tracker calendar. So for this, I want to track the art that I've already made so that I can look back and see what I've made over the month, what I've made in the whole year, and also see a nice gallery visual breakdown of the art. So as I go, I'm going to be adding my art so that I can see really clearly and quickly a nice little gallery of everything that I've made so far. I mentioned in my last video that I wasn't feeling super creative in January, so I only made about 3 digital art pieces. And I'm not really tracking smaller daily art sketching sessions in this calendar. It's a bit fiddly for me, but I do really like using it to track just the larger digital art pieces. I added this sketching session just to see if I wanted to be tracking like that, but I don't think it's worth it for me to add that level of detail. I just like to have a broad overview of what I've created for the year. So the important thing for me that I'm tracking here is partly just to see what I've created and to be able to look back on that and feel good about it. And also I want to see how my art makes me feel. So I've added this column in this table that I'm tracking my art with. And I've made a little pie chart down here so that I can see at a glance overall all of the art accumulated, how it makes me feel. And obviously these are all positive emotions up here. I have added in here some more neutral or negative emotions because I don't want to assume that it's always going to be a great outcome. But so far, all my art has made me feel good, and it's just kind of nice to see at a glance. So that's my new art tracker. I'm excited to use it. It's just a nice little visual overview of my art process. And it's just nice to make it look cute, have little icons for everything. And if you do use this template, it's really easy to set up this gallery. Each of these artworks is just a new page. So maybe this week I'll draw a dog in a hat. And then I can just add a cover image. And you can add a little icon, and now it'll appear in the gallery as the image you uploaded, obviously, of your art or whatever it is that you'd like to track. Maybe you're doing crafts this year, or a knitting project, or sewing, or making something fun out of clay every week. Whatever it is you want to track as your craft, you can just add it to this tracker as a page entry. Put in when you made it, how it made you feel, any thoughts you have about it, and then if you add a cover image, it'll show up really nicely in this gallery so you can see everything in one place. So I really love it. It's tracking, but it's not too complicated, it's not too in-depth, and the reason that I'm doing it feels really motivating and like a really positive outcome, so it's easy to do. I've also got a few reminders on the homepage, like why I want to make art, because it brings me joy, it's relaxing self-care time for me, and I want to improve my skills. I don't find that too often I need to be reminded of why I make art because I do it so often, and I know that I love doing it, and it's obviously my job now, or a big part of it, but it's always nice to have these little reminders because why not? And then I've got some art goals for this year. So this year I really want to focus on building an art licensing portfolio. That's something I've been wanting to do for a few years, but it's never been a high priority. So this year I'd really like to make some really good progress on that and see if I can build out at least a small portfolio, probably with greeting card designs, maybe some pattern designs as well. I want to focus some energy on just doing small sketchbook sessions, probably about 4 times a week, give or take. I'm not being strict with it. I don't need to do daily art specifically, but every other day or so would be great. I find the small sketchbook sessions are really manageable, or drawing on scrapbooks of paper, which I know I've been talking about a bit lately in my other videos. It's just really manageable and achievable, and something I can sit down and do for 15 or 20 minutes and just really enjoy expressing that creativity. And I would really love to make and print some custom patterns on fabric. It sort of ties into the art licensing portfolio, but for my personal enjoyment, I would really love to make some really cute patterns, print them on fabric and make some things with them, or make wrapping paper or that sort of thing that I can do crafts with. I think that would be really fun. So the art tracker is a new thing that I've added this year, but I always use Notion to track my projects, which for me personally is largely my content. So that's what I use this page for, or any art work related projects, because that's what I spend so much of my time doing. You can really use this project page to plan anything you like. It might be a new art skill you're learning, or maybe you're trying to grow your art account on social media, or you might be using it for your own small art business like I am. So I have a really simple setup for that. I don't like it to be too complicated. I have a to-do list, which I break down into all of the things that I have coming up in general, but especially I break it down into this week, which is probably what I look at most often, just so that it's not as overwhelming and I don't have every single thing showing up at once. I also break it down into the month to see what's happening this month, but it's the end of the month now, so it's the same as this week. And sometimes I like to see a priority view so that I can really see what's high priority, like filming and editing this Notion video, and what's medium priority and low priority. And then I really like to have a calendar view. This is where I put all of my major tasks from my to-do list. This is linked to this to-do list, so they're the same set of tasks and priorities and dates. And I like to put down all of the major tasks that I have to do, not so much the nitty-gritty, because I can break that down elsewhere. Mostly here I put the big chunky things to do, like the major projects of the day, anything that's really important that I need to do for marketing, content that I need to post, and things like that. So it's right at the end of January when I'm making this video. So today I'm filming this Notion tour video, and then I'll probably edit it straight away, maybe going into tomorrow as well. And usually I just sort of film and script and edit things kind of all at once and post them fairly soon afterwards, so you'll probably see this video in the next few days. And tomorrow I need to post my Patreon tutorial, which is the last thing for the month. And I like to add little icons to the things that I'm posting, just so that they're a little bit separated in this view and a little bit easier to see that these are things that I'm posting. Maybe I've already made them, maybe I'm making them on the same day, which I often do. But otherwise this space just acts as somewhere for me to put my main priorities and my main deadlines. So February's starting this Saturday, so I haven't got anything planned out for February yet, except for some picture book draft revisions that I need to do probably by the end of next week. But usually at the start of the month, I start blocking in when I'm expecting to be posting things or any deadlines I have. And then more week by week, I'll go through and plan what my major priorities are for each day. So let's plan out a few of the major things that I have for February. And if I scroll down, I have my month to-do lists. For me personally, I like to just break down the major projects that I have for the month in these lists. So for me at the moment, that's usually Patreon content. So all of these things are major Patreon posts that I need to create and post. So I tick them off when they're done. The video tutorial is pretty much done, but I'm going to post that tomorrow. So I'll wait until I've posted it to tick it off. And then you are currently watching me record video 4, so once that's all done, I'll tick that off too. I don't usually do 4 videos in a month plus a Patreon tutorial, but it's January and there was some more content to go out this month. Normally, I just have 2 YouTube videos and all the Patreon content. So I've actually copied and pasted the same regular content into each of these months for the year, because I know that that's the content that I always make. But I also added at the bottom any extra projects that I might be working on for that month. So this month it was kind of just the extra videos for January. But in March I have some picture book illustrations due for another picture book. I'd really love to make a 7-day art class soon, so I'm hoping to get that done in February. And in April I'd love to make a new brush pack. So this is not where I break down those projects into how I'm going to achieve them. I do that in other places, but it's just a place for me to see at a glance all of the major projects that I'm working on for the month and the major deliverables. So using this to-do list, I can then fill out my calendar a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect or strict dates, but it helps me flesh out the month and see how much I've overcommitted to projects and whether it's even possible to get it all done, or whether I need to take a step back and take off some of these extra projects, maybe reduce the amount of YouTube videos I'm making, or just do content that is easier for me to make throughout the month. So I can start placing these in. This is my illustration club sketches that I have for Patreon. That's normally the first thing that I do, or one of the first things that I do. So I think at the start of next week, the start of February, I'll do those illustration club sketches, which is a really fun, easy exercise for me to do. So I can just add a new item, write down what it is, choose the priority. It'll be medium priority for me because I do like to do it early in the month, but if it gets pushed back a day or two, it's no big deal. And I haven't started yet. And for something like this, I'm probably actually going to post it the same day that I make it. So I can actually probably just make and post the illustration club sketches on the same day. And because I'm posting it, I'm going to add it my little posting icon just so I can see that it's something to post. So this will also show up in my task list. So I can see that it's here for February 3rd and it's got all of my tags there. But the beauty of it is that it won't show up in this week's to-do list. So when I'm ready to actually do some work for this week, I can focus on this view and not worry about the other things. They've been scheduled, they're organized in the future, and I can just really focus on what I've got on this week's list. I also really like having that for my calendar view too, so that I can just focus it down to 1 week at a time. Otherwise it can get quite overwhelming, especially if I do block out a lot of the month in advance. If I want to be able to just focus and be a little less overwhelmed, I can just view this week one at a time. It doesn't give me any more information, but that's the point. It gives me less information so that I can just focus on what I'm working on right now. So then I can just allocate the rest of these things onto my calendar, roughly where I think I normally do them. I usually post the final illustration for my illustration club a little bit later in the month. And knowing when to do things and how long they'll take just comes with experience. I've been doing these tasks every month for probably about 3 or 4 years, so I know roughly how long they take and when I'm going to do them in the month, so it's easy for me to set up. Whereas some of the other things, anything that's new can be a little bit more flexible because I don't know how long it's going to take. And for things like my YouTube videos, I don't have a strict schedule at the moment. I just try to roughly spread them out through the month. So I'm aiming to do 2 videos next month, so I'll just put them about a fortnight apart. But no doubt they'll change later and I can just move them around when I need to. So I'd really like to try to make this 7-day art class that I've had in my head for a little while. I want to make it next month, or at least start working on it, but I don't know how long it's going to take. So what I usually do in that case is just add when I'm going to start working on it, set aside some time or a whole week or most of a week to work on it, and then see how far I get. And then after that week, I can keep adding when I need to if the project's still going. And once I start working on the project and plan it out some more, then I can get into the nitty-gritty of what needs to be done each day. And I can expand on this, or I can write it in this page, what I need to create for the class. So I can write a rough list of the things that I think I'm going to need to do. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can always amend it later, but it gives me a starting place so that when I'm ready to come and work on this, there's some information in here as to where I should start. And if it takes longer than 5 days, which I'm sure it will do, then I can just expand it out. I'm not usually very strict with my scheduling because I'm a creative person and things are flexible and my mood is flexible, and so my productivity comes and goes, and I have other things that I'm working on that are also important, so I can't expect myself to just be able to sit down and work on this for 5 days straight. So we'll just see how we go, and that's totally fine. So that's how I like to use my Notion calendar. I don't usually go into too much more detail here. It's sort of broad strokes. Things like my YouTube videos, I plan on Google Docs because that's where I write my scripts, so I could put it in here, but I don't really need to. But you could absolutely plan everything right here if you wanted it in one place. And then the other thing that I plan on here is my project ideas wish list, which is just where I put all of the projects that I'd quite like to work on so that they have a place to live outside of my head. It doesn't mean that I have to do these this year. It's just somewhere that I like to write them down and cross them off when I work on them. And this is where I pull from when I'm adding extra projects into my month. So this is definitely where I spend most of my time because I use this every day. But I've also added some really fun things to my Notion this year. So let me show you around. So I've included some drawing ideas, some tutorials and resources, a space for inspiration, some art challenges that I've just written out lots of prompts for and put them in a challenge format, and a space to just brainstorm and dump all of the art ideas. I wanted this to feel like a warm space where you can get organized and inspired, and a space where even really beginner artists can find what to draw, how to draw it, and also be able to track all of the beautiful things that you make. So I've got a page dedicated to drawing ideas. I've linked my free drawing idea generator on here that's on my website that I know I've talked about before. But basically it's a space where you can just click to generate a prompt, either a simple prompt or an advanced prompt, which is a bit more of a story scene. And there are lots of ideas on there. It's going to take you a while to go through all of them before you run out of ideas. I've also linked a video I made last year with some beginner drawing ideas in case you find that inspiring. And then just written a bunch of lists of simple drawing ideas, character ideas, animals and environment drawing ideas for myself, but also for you guys, so that we can all just have a long list of ideas to pull from depending on what mood we're in. So you can just come and see what inspires you on the day if you don't have your own ideas. It took me quite a long time to be able to come up with my own original art ideas, and it's something that I used to struggle with when I would think of myself as a creative person, because I could draw from life or from reference, but struggled to come up with my own interesting ideas. And I used to feel bad about that, but I don't want anyone to feel bad about not coming up with their own ideas all the time. We all need inspiration, we all need prompts sometimes to inspire our ideas. And I might have written out this list, but you're the ones who are going to be coming up with what an astronaut looks like. What's the setting around them? What are they wearing? These are idea prompts, but each individual artist is the one who interprets these written prompts into a beautiful art idea. I've also made a page of some tutorials and resources. I've included some of my free videos that I think are really helpful that cover a broad range of topics, especially ones that impact beginner artists, but are relevant at any point in your art journey. I like to have some learning wish lists on my Notion when I'm tracking my art journey. So these are just some examples, but I like to write down what skills I would like to be working on, and then breaking down those skills into more specific tutorials that I could look up or research on Google or YouTube or Pinterest. And then I like to leave a space for linking some tutorials that I found that I've watched and were helpful or that I want to watch later. So these are examples, and I've watched all of these videos and I think they're really helpful. And then I've included some step-by-step tutorials so that if you are a beginner, to really help you get started without worrying how to draw. These are some older tutorials from my Patreon that I've included in this because I think they're really helpful for getting started when you just truly don't know where to begin with blank paper. So you can learn how to draw a cute sunflower, some other flower types, some cute little bugs, a few basic animal faces, and things like that. I have a space on here where I put inspiration, so I've uploaded some photos mostly from my camera roll, but a few of these are from Unsplash as well, the royalty-free image website. This is my parents' dog Poppy poking through a flower bush, so I just use these images sometimes when I'm looking for some inspiration for what to draw, or maybe some flower shapes or colors, and it just really helps creativity. There are some animals as well, and just generally nature inspiration, so these are all things that I draw a lot. If you download this template, you can add to these or make your own. They're all just toggle lists, so you can hide them if you don't want to see them. So this is something that I find really helpful. And then I'm really excited to have made this art challenges page where I've written out some different prompts on just different topics or different themes. Some of them have 10 prompts, which is a little bit more manageable. Whereas this one has 30 prompts, so you could do it in a whole month if you want to draw every day. There's no set timeline. You can do them however frequently you want. And when you tick them off, there's a little pie chart will show you your progress. You don't have to add dates to them, but you could do if you wanted to. And this calendar will show you the dates you put in. So maybe I want to start this next week, and maybe on Wednesday, I want to start the first one. Friday, I'll do the next one, and maybe I'll draw on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays because it's not too intense of a schedule. And then down on the calendar, it shows me what prompt I have for each day. So I'm really excited to use this year. I made sure that they were all quite joyful challenges, so I think it'll be fun. And lastly, I just like having a space where I can kind of dump all of the ideas that I want to work on. This is definitely not the full comprehensive list of everything I want to work on. I started filling it out, but I haven't finished because the list would be a lot longer if it was finished. But basically, I like to break it down into the things that I am most excited to draw. And these are the things that I'll draw first. Then I have the things that I would quite like to draw that I am excited about, but not as excited as these ones. And lastly, I have a list of things that I'm happy to draw later, that I don't want to forget about the idea. I still want to write it down somewhere, but I don't need to do Christmas design stuff yet. I can wait until later in the year. And then as I finish these things, I can just move things up the priority list as they become a higher priority. I just find that it's a helpful way to organize my creative brain, which is why I made this video on a really similar topic, basically with the same process, but doing it on paper. So I've added that here as well if I need a reminder or anyone else using this template needs a reminder. So that's how I'm using Notion at the moment. I'm really excited about the updates that I did this year. I'm most excited about my art tracker because being able to see at a glance the progress and what I've worked on this year is really nice. Sometimes it feels like we aren't making progress, but actually when we look around and see what we've made so far, it's always a lot more than you think. Also, Notion has this cute new feature that they released just a few weeks ago where you can make a custom portrait. And I love this sort of thing where you get to pick out expressions and hair. I'm giving mine heart eyes and a nice smile. And I guess my hair is something like this one. Then you can just download it and upload it as your profile on Notion if you want to customize it. You can get started on Notion for free and create your portrait via the link in my description. There are lots of great free templates available for Notion to help you get started, or you can get my art planner template on my Etsy shop. I've put a lot of love into it, and if you do use this art planner for yourself, then I really hope that it helps you make lots of lovely art and feel confident and creative as an artist, because that's a beautiful thing to focus on. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I think you'll really enjoy this other art video too, so just click on the thumbnail on screen to pop it on. I love being able to share these videos with you. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!